What if the world around you isn't quite what it seems? What if reality, as you know it, is less of a solid, unchanging world and more of a canvas for your mind's projections? These questions aren't just airy philosophy. Increasingly, both ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science are converging on one startling conclusion. Consciousness might actively shape the physical realm. For decades, rumors of top-secret government programs investigating this concept swirled, but they remained buried behind sealed doors. Now, with the declassification of certain CIA documents, we're glimpsing evidence that the human mind might be far more powerful than we ever imagined. Some say this research unveils a new era of human potential. Others claim it's just a wild theory. But one thing is sure, once you hear about what the CIA allegedly discovered, you might start questioning everything you thought you knew about existence. Brace yourself. This journey is filled with controversies, jaw-dropping findings, and possibilities that could shift your understanding of life forever. Long before modern labs existed, ancient civilizations were already hinting at the possibility that our minds play a role in shaping the world. From Egyptian spiritual teachings that spoke of the power of thought to Eastern philosophies describing the universe as Maya, an illusion woven by consciousness. There's a rich history of such beliefs. Mysterious inscriptions on temple walls and cryptic references in old scriptures often point toward a hidden force that unites mind and matter. Thinkers in ancient Greece pondered whether reality was simply a reflection of higher forms. Vedic texts in India described how focused meditation could lead to abilities that baffle common reasoning. Across continents, from the mystical schools of Persia to the shamans of the Americas, the idea of a deeper reality shaped by thought kept appearing again and again. Skeptics, of course, dismissed these ancient ideas as myths, but it's astounding how many parallels we're now finding in the modern age, especially when science begins validating what was once purely mystical speculation. Even more intriguing is how closely these age-old teachings align with revelations from one of the CIA's most controversial experiments. It's here that folklore and fact intertwine, hinting that maybe the ancients were onto something profound. Some say that if these ancient symbols and texts are re-examined under the light of modern science, we might see they were quietly revealing the mechanics of consciousness long before we had any instruments to prove it. But that's just a glimpse of the past. The truly unnerving part comes next. Official documents and declassified files that spark all sorts of questions. For the longest time, stories about clandestine experiments involving consciousness circulated in hushed circles. Many assumed they were hoaxes or the product of overactive imaginations. Then came the declassification of documents, revealing what some call the gateway experience. The CIA's research wasn't about far-fetched psychic phenomena in the vein of cheap movie plots. It was systematic, it was clinical, and it hinted at something remarkable. The mind might not just observe reality, it could bend it. According to these documents, the Gateway program explored ways to help individuals tap into unusual states of consciousness. Participants trained in meditative techniques, used specialized sound frequencies, and practiced intense forms of mental focus. Over time, these participants reported experiences that shattered their conventional sense of reality. Visions of distant locations, interactions with intangible energies, and an uncanny ability to influence outcomes in their lives. The agency's interest wasn't idle curiosity. There was a strategic angle. If consciousness truly plays an active role in shaping events, you can imagine the potential, both beneficial and, some argue, dangerous. Rumors suggest that the government quietly funded these programs to see if they could give intelligence operatives an edge. Critics, meanwhile, say the experiments were ethically murky, with some participants allegedly feeling manipulated. Whether the CIA fully succeeded is still hotly debated. But the existence of these documents, with their talk of expanded consciousness and non-ordinary reality, is impossible to ignore. Suddenly, the once wild claims of ancient mystics don't seem so far-fetched. Still, the big question remains: how exactly could people influence reality using little more than their mind? That's where things get even more intriguing. If you've ever listened to a perfectly orchestrated piece of music, you know the magic of harmony. The Gateway program approached the human brain much the same way. They reasoned that balancing our brain hemispheres, left and right, might unlock latent capabilities. Under normal circumstances, each hemisphere processes information in its own way. The left hemisphere is more analytical, breaking problems into smaller parts, while the right hemisphere processes images, patterns, and emotional nuances. Usually, one side tends to dominate depending on the task. But the Gateway researchers theorized that by getting both hemispheres to work together seamlessly, you could open a doorway to altered states of consciousness. The technique involved audio frequencies known as hemisync. Participants would listen to specially crafted sounds through headphones, each ear receiving slightly different tones. This created a frequency-following response in the brain, gently coaxing both hemispheres to align. The result was said to be an almost trance-like state, calm yet hyper-aware. In these sessions, people reported experiences ranging from deep, profound peace to dramatic shifts in perception. Some claimed to glimpse realities that felt more real than waking life. Others said they could more easily visualize goals or intentions, sometimes with eerie accuracy when those intentions later manifested in everyday life. The official stance was that this hemisphere synchronization simply made relaxation and focus easier. But in the shadows, more extraordinary claims emerged. Whispers circulated of participants somehow remote viewing distant places or influencing physical matter. While direct proof is elusive, it's enough to make anyone wonder. If balancing the brain can unlock that kind of potential, what else are we missing? Yet, this is only one piece of the puzzle. A bigger question looms. If our minds can do all this, are we unwitting architects of the world we see around us? Imagine waking up each day to discover that your thoughts, emotions, and expectations collectively sculpt your reality. It sounds far-fetched, until you start digging into the concept of the mind as a projector rather than just a receiver. Quantum physics already teases us with the idea that observation can affect what's being observed. Experiments with subatomic particles show that simply measuring or looking at them can influence how they behave. Could it be that our consciousness operates in a similar fashion, continuously molding the tapestry of our world? Some researchers postulate that reality itself is holographic. In a hologram, the entire image is encoded in every fragment. That means if consciousness is part of a universal hologram, each one of us holds the entire blueprint of existence within us. Our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions then become the signals that shape how that holographic image appears to us. Even mainstream psychologists acknowledge the power of expectancy and belief. Placebo effects, for instance, demonstrate that believing in a specific outcome can spark the body's healing responses. What if that phenomenon is just a modest example of a larger cosmic principle? Critics argue that these ideas are too grandiose. After all, if we really shaped our reality, wouldn't we all be living our dream lives? But proponents suggest it's more subtle, a dance of infinite variables where your mind is one key player. It might not guarantee instant riches or eliminate challenges overnight, but it does open the door to the possibility that you have more creative authority over your life than you've been led to believe. And yet, whenever extraordinary claims surface, there's always resistance. Controversies swirl, skeptics and believers clash. Let's look at why some find these revelations unsettling, and what accusations have been hurled at those who dig into them. Whenever the CIA is involved, rumors of hidden agendas and secrecy are bound to follow. The Gateway documents sparked heated debates, with some hailing them as groundbreaking proof of the mind's capabilities, and others dismissing them as incomplete or overblown. Still, the biggest chatter revolves around allegations that the government wanted these findings kept quiet for fear they could be misused or misunderstood. Some conspiracy theorists allege that if people understood the full extent of these mind-based powers, entire social structures could be challenged. After all, if enough individuals realize they can think, visualize, and then manifest certain outcomes, how might that shift society's power balance? There are also claims that a handful of participants, after leaving the program, made shocking allegations about coercive tactics. Those rumors have never been conclusively proven, but they add a layer of mystery. Did the CIA really push participants beyond safe limits to test just how pliable reality could become under altered states? Or are these stories exaggerated by people seeking attention? Skeptics often argue that the Gateway documents, while fascinating, are incomplete and don't provide direct evidence of supernatural phenomena. In their view, much of the hype comes from those reading too much into preliminary findings. They note that illusions and suggestibility could account for many reports from test subjects. Whatever the truth, these controversies underscore a core tension. We're dealing with phenomena that elude black and white proof. And when official agencies keep research behind closed doors, it inevitably spawns speculation, some of which might be warranted. While the debate roars on, one technique consistently emerges as a centerpiece of mind-driven reality. It's a simple yet powerful practice that many swear by, and it just might help us see how these extraordinary ideas can show up in ordinary life. Visualization is often written off as daydreaming, but what if it's actually the mind's way of engineering reality? Ancient teachings call it mental alchemy, while modern self-help gurus call it manifestation. The principle is the same. By vividly picturing a desired outcome, you align your thoughts and emotions with that target. How does this tie into the holographic mind? Proponents argue that visualization sets your mental frequency to attract the experience you envision. In other words, you're sending out energetic signals that reshape how events unfold. Even sports psychologists teach athletes to mentally rehearse winning outcomes, claiming it helps the body and mind unite towards success. Skeptics caution that visualization alone won't override practical realities. You can't just close your eyes, imagine winning the lottery, and expect money to pour in. But there is intriguing evidence suggesting that consistent, emotionally charged visualization can nudge probabilities in your favor. Scientists studying the placebo effect find that patients who wholeheartedly believe in a treatment sometimes heal faster, even when the treatment is inert. The underlying mechanism is still being researched, but it highlights how focused belief can trigger tangible changes. Replace medical treatment with personal goals, like a career milestone, improved relationships, or creative breakthroughs, and the principle might remain the same. Critics accuse visualization advocates of peddling a magical thinking mentality. Yet many people claim first-hand success stories. A musician might visualize performing to a cheering audience, only to later find the perfect connections to make that dream a reality. An entrepreneur might clearly imagine negotiating a beneficial deal, then notice an uncanny string of events that lead to exactly that outcome. Coincidence? Possibly. Or maybe, as the Gateway program suggests, the mind truly wields a hidden force. Still, how do we reconcile these extraordinary possibilities with modern science? It turns out a growing number of researchers are trying to do just that. For years, mainstream academia dismissed the notion of consciousness affecting reality as pseudoscience. But times are changing. Quantum physics, once regarded as purely the domain of complex math and subatomic behavior, is now interwoven with philosophical questions about the observer's role. Take the famous double-slit experiment, where particles seem to behave differently when watched. Some interpret this to mean consciousness itself influences physical reality. While there's a heated debate on that interpretation, it's clear that science is no longer shrugging off the power of observation. Neuroscientists are also stepping into the ring. Brain imaging technology has begun revealing how thoughts alter the brain structure. If that's true at a cellular level, who's to say it stops there? The more researchers study neuroplasticity, the mind's ability to rewire itself, the more it seems plausible that our mental states do affect the external world in ways we don't yet fully grasp. Moreover, a few bold scientists have proposed theoretical models describing the universe as a vast information field. Within such a framework, consciousness might act as both decoder and coder, interpreting data from the field while simultaneously feeding new data back in. It's eerily reminiscent of old mystical teachings and new holographic theories. None of this is to say mainstream science has settled on these ideas as fact. Many experts remain cautious, insisting further research is needed. But the intellectual climate is shifting. What was once a fringe concept is slowly earning a seat at the discussion table. Which leaves us with a compelling question. If all this is even partially true, what does it mean for how we live our daily lives and how we see ourselves in the cosmic puzzle? As we pull back from the intriguing threads of ancient lore, CIA experiments, and cutting-edge physics, one overarching message shines through. Reality might be far more malleable than we ever dared imagine. It's easy to dismiss it all as speculative hype, until we see how consistently the same themes arise. From the cryptic symbols of lost civilizations to the hush-hush studies carried out by modern intelligence agencies. Whether we call it a holographic universe, a gateway to higher consciousness, or simply the power of directed thought, it all points to a staggering possibility. We are active participants in the unfolding story of the cosmos. Our minds, our emotions, and our beliefs are not meaningless. They carry weight. They can shift outcomes, shape experiences, and potentially unveil whole layers of existence we typically overlook. Does that mean we have absolute power over everything around us? Likely not. The universe is a vast, interwoven tapestry of countless factors. But realizing you're a co-creator, rather than a mere spectator, opens up exhilarating avenues for exploration. It suggests that personal transformation isn't just about positive thinking, it's about aligning with the deep, underlying structure of reality itself. So, the next time you catch yourself daydreaming or you sit down to meditate, remember these findings. You might be doing more than calming your nerves or escaping the daily grind. You could be tapping into the hidden mechanics that govern our world. Perhaps that ancient mystery school teacher, that quantum physicist, and that CIA researcher all stumbled upon the same truth. The mind doesn't just reside in reality, it helps define it, and that knowledge is as liberating as it is unsettling. If there's even a shred of truth to the idea that we can project new realities through consciousness, then we stand at a pivotal moment in history. A moment when we can choose to harness this potential for personal and collective growth. Or let it slip back into the realm of rumor and skepticism. If you found yourself both fascinated and challenged by these ideas, you're not alone. The conversation is just beginning. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences, because who knows, your personal story might be the very proof someone else needs to see that perhaps we're all more powerful than we've been led to believe.